Okay, so today there's no slides, there's no presentation, it's just me sharing with you. So it's a good idea to have your journals to hand if you can, because you're going to want to reflect and make notes and things like that. So this is a follow-on from the previous two webinars that we did. The first one a couple of weeks ago was all about patterns. So we identified the most common psychological patterns and how they're linked to karmic patterns and soul lessons. And then in the last webinar last week, we talked about how karma and dharma have a role to play in our soul lessons. And so I talked about how life is like a curriculum and how, we are presented with opportunities and challenges, which is all part of us learning and growing. And the biggest problems that we run into is when we don't know what our curriculum is. We don't know why we're being presented with these challenges. And that's when we feel that resistance, like, why is this happening to me? This is so unfair. My life is so hard. All of that narrative goes on in the mind when we don't understand what's being asked of us. And so really it's the combination of having awareness, being able to reflect and be aware of your patterns, along with being mentored. And I always believe that it's so important to have both. Some people try and do this work alone, and it's not impossible, it's just longer. It's like studying for a PhD and not having, a professor or a mentor or somebody to check over your work. It's just going to take longer. It's going to take more time. Whereas when you have somebody that's already walked the path, they can recognize what you're going through. They can say, oh yeah, I remember that stage. I went through it as well. That's the breakthrough moment. This is the point before your quantum leap. They're able to recognize your patterns for you. So I always say a good coach is actually a mirror. It's a mirror because it's someone who's just holding up a mirror for you to see clearly what's really going on. And remember, most of our patterns are in the subconscious mind, so we're not aware of them. And so without that mirror, we're just walking around blindly. Everything's just trial and error. Like, you get invited somewhere and you're like, yeah, okay, I think I'll go along. But you don't actually preempt whether or not you're going to enjoy going. And so this is not about controlling the future. It's about knowing yourself so well so that when you get an invitation, you're like, no, actually, that's not my vibe. I'm not going to go. Or actually, yeah, that really lights me up. I'd like to go. Same with jobs. Oh, no, that's not aligned with my values. I'm not going to take it. Ah, yes, it is. I am going to take it. So our decisions become so much more impactful when we know ourselves. Otherwise, we're just kind of walking around guessing. Do you resonate with that? Do you ever feel like you're just sort of guessing? Share on the chat box if you've had moments like that where you felt like, I'm just might as well be blindfolded. And this is coming from us not having taken the time to know ourselves and not having the tools as well. We always study external subjects. We study whatever it is that we've trained in. We observe, animals, we observe nature, but how much of our lives do we study ourselves? Unless you're in psychology or philosophy or sociology or something like that, we very rarely dive deeply into who we are. And so really this whole journey that I take people on is just based on one question. Do you know what that one question is? Do you want to guess? If you've heard my podcasts, you'll hear me repeating this because this is really the most profound question. And I asked myself this when I was just 10 years old. It just came to me. I often share the story of when I was in the school library and I was just journaling and reading, and I could hear my friends chattering in the playground and laughing. And that question just came to me, and it was clear as day. And that question was, who am I? Who am I really? Who am I behind the labels of being a girl, being a daughter, being a sister? And as we grow up, as we evolve, our labels change as well. You may become a wife, you may become a mother, you may become a daughter-in-law, you may become an auntie, or for males, uncle, brother, cousin, friend, colleague, manager. All our labels change, but what doesn't change is the essence of who we are. And it's really that essence that I want to help you to remember. And it is about remembering. It's not about discovering. It's not about finding. When we ask the question, who am I? It's not, oh, let me just go and find it. I happened to be in a library when I asked myself that, but I couldn't have found that answer in any books. It just comes. It's a feeling, it's a state. So when people say to me, oh, I really want to find my purpose, so I just feel ready to know my purpose, what I reply to them with is, purpose is not a job. It's not a title. It's not another label. We're trying to get away from labels. Purpose is a state of being. Okay, I'm going to say that again. I'm going to write it in the chat box. I want you to take this away. Really know this. Really feel this. Let it land. Purpose is a state of being. Right now, I'm in my purpose. Someone commented that I look lovely today. It's not my clothes. It's not my makeup. It's not my hair. It's a state of being because I'm aligned with my purpose. I haven't prepared what I'm going to do today, to be honest. I haven't got any slides. I haven't got anything prepared. I'm just in flow. So another way of describing it is purpose is flow. And if you think about it, nature, rivers, the sea, everything around us, it shows us that that's how we should be. That's actually our natural state, to be in flow. To not be in flow is not natural. It's not natural to be stressed, to be tense, to be on edge. That's not natural, although we've made it our norm, haven't we, in our society? But it's the most natural thing to be in flow. And I think I said it in the last webinar that it's my dream. You can laugh at me, you can say I'm a dreamer, but it's my dream to see the whole world in a state of flow, to see everybody doing what they love doing, not just work-wise, although that may be part of it, but sharing their unique gifts, talents. I often say, like, if you're good at baking, bake something for someone. Take it round to them. Don't buy them a Christmas present. Bake it. If you're good at drawing, draw something. We all often think it's more for children to do that. If a child draws us a picture, we feel really pleased and happy. Why don't we draw pictures for each other? Why don't we just write a poem and write it in nice pen and paper and gift it to someone? Isn't that more meaningful than buying something? What do you think? Share on the chat box what you think about that. So it's about drawing on your unique gifts. And your gifts are not necessarily your talents. Often people say, oh, but I don't have a talent, so what am I supposed to do? It's about, what are you natural at? What comes so naturally to you? Like for me, speaking comes naturally. writing comes naturally. So actually, I did this once. It was someone's birthday, and I just spoke on a video, and I shared a really lovely message about my sentiment towards them, and I sent it um, by video, and they were so touched. And that meant more to them than a bouquet of flowers, a card, a gift, because it was personal. One time I was learning to play keyboard and piano, and I played Happy Birthday, and it was slightly out of tune, but it didn't matter. I videoed it and I sent it to them, and again they liked it. So it's something to do with you, your essence, your personal touch. And I think we've lost sight of that. We often think, oh, we need to buy something, it needs to look really nice, it needs to be gift wrapped. And actually, what if we just are the gift? What if our presence is a gift? I'm going to write that in the chat box. That's beautiful. Our presence can be a gift to someone. What's the point in going for coffee with someone and not being present? Like, just don't go then. You might just change the coffee date and have a video call instead then. You'll, you'll save money, first of all, but also you might be more present. Sometimes I don't like going out to crowded places. I don't see the point in going to a really, really busy restaurant, paying for a meal and actually not being able to connect with the person that I'm with. I'd much rather go to a park or go and sit in someone's garden or do something that's much more meaningful. So it's about shifting our perspective around what presence means to us and what purpose means to us. So purpose is a state of being. When you're in your truest state, when you're most aligned with your authenticity, that's when you are living your purpose. Does anyone resonate with this? Feel free to share. So perhaps you're someone that's done everything right. What do I mean by that? Maybe you're somebody that has followed the norm. You've done all the good girl things. You went to university, maybe you got a good job. You maybe settled down when society told you to. And now you're at a stage where you're questioning. Hold on a minute. They told me that if I followed XYZ, I'd be fulfilled. And now here I am at this point in my life and I'm not fulfilled. So what went wrong? Did they tell me a lie? Did I follow blindly? What happened in between? And so really this is what I call a threshold, an identity threshold, where we start questioning who we were, who we are, and who we get to be. So this is a threshold because we're not in either. We're no longer in the past. We feel like we've outgrown the past. Do you resonate with that? Do you feel like you've outgrown your past circumstances, your situations, the way you responded to things in the past? Do you feel like you've outgrown those? Are you different now? And yet we're not fully who we want to be in the present. So we're still making decisions, sometimes from our old identity. And yet we still don't know what's going to happen in the future. So that's why I call it a threshold. Another word, which I think I used last time, is the void. The void, it sounds negative, but actually I find it very exciting to be in a void. It's like a blank canvas. It's like a world of opportunity is now open to me. So when I made that big decision of closing down my school of 20 years, it was much more than a business to me. It was my livelihood, first of all, but it was my identity. It was who I was. I was known in town, as the studio owner, as a dance teacher. And so when I let go of that identity, I was in the void. I was in this place of, oh, now what? And interestingly, what I did is I started creating new offers and new services and new things for my business, but an element of it was from my old identity because I hadn't yet forged the new one and I hadn't yet released the old one. So I was in this in between stage, which you might be in right now, where I started building things subconsciously with the same patterns. So an example is I developed a course, as you know, Dharma Diploma course, and I offered 3 cohorts a year. And the cohorts were exactly the same term times as my dance school. And I didn't realize it when I was doing it. It was so subconscious. And here I am now, a year later, and I've done 3 cohorts successfully, and it's a fantastic course. And I'm like, whoa, I replicated my dance school model into this because I was operating from the same patterns of my old identity. That's why it's important when you're going through an identity change, if you don't navigate it properly, then you might just replicate your old life. Have you heard of people that leave unhappy marriages or even abusive marriages, unfortunately, and they go into another one that's pretty much the same themes, but a different person? Have you heard of that? And why is that? Because unknowingly, that person was attracting the same type of person. You hear about people who go from having an unhealthy relationship with their parents, let's say, or their dad, and then they attract a partner who's very similar. You hear of people that go from one job to the next and end up having similar patterns. So, a confrontational boss or colleagues that they don't get along with. And so we change from situation to situation, but our patterns, which are ingrained within us, they follow us. That's why it doesn't matter whether you relocate to a new country, you change career, whatever you do, your patterns are going to follow you. That's why it's so important to address the underlying patterns, because it's those patterns that are either taking you closer to or taking you further away from your purpose. Does that make sense? Share on the chat box if this is resonating, it's landing for you. So your patterns either take you closer to, if they are empowering you, or they take you away from your purpose. So I often use the analogy of a sat nav. So your sat nav can either take you to the destination or it can take you round and round away from the destination. Have you ever been driving somewhere and your sat nav just keeps telling you to go round and you're like, and it keeps saying, you're here, you've arrived. And you're like, no, I haven't. I'm in the middle of nowhere. So our purpose is a bit like that. It's a bit like a sat nav. So we are constantly being navigated. But when we don't have that connection with our higher self, we can't hear the navigation. So it's like listening to your sat nav, but you missed a key thing that it was saying. Maybe it said turn right at the roundabout, but you didn't hear that. So you continued straight and then you wondered why you didn't get there. It's the same thing. So what do we need to do? We need to strengthen our connection with our higher self. And I'm pointing here because our higher self is located in the third eye. So when your third eye is open, that's when you can hear what your higher self is telling you. At the moment, most people, when they come to me, their higher self is either completely silent or it's just whispering very, very quietly. And the lower self is speaking really loudly, right? Have you been through times like that where your lower self, which is your voice of reason, caution, fear, scarcity, lack, that's really loud. It's trying to put you off doing things, it's trying to put you down, it's telling you that you're not good enough, you're never going to make it. All of that, that lower voice is usually really loud. So one thing I help people do is switch it. So we can't get rid of the lower self as much as we'd like to. It's there to protect us. What we can do is we can increase the volume of the higher self and decrease the volume of the lower self. How does that sound? Would you like that? What would it be like to hear clearly the voice of your higher self? I'm writing a book at the moment, and it's a very big, thick book. I mean, it's about 80,000 words. It's a big piece of work. And honestly, hand on heart, I can say one thing. I didn't write it. Well, who wrote it then? Why is your name on it? I didn't write it. My higher self wrote it. My higher self just says to me, "Oh, by the way, Nikita, add this into chapter 3, okay?" I'm like, "Okay, fine." Add it in. "Oh, Nikita, why don't you put a diagram in chapter 6? That will help." All right, then I'll just do a diagram, no problem. I'm just listening to my intuition. I'm just following it. It's so much easier than me wrecking my brain trying to think about what am I going to write? How's it going to sound? How are people going to take it? That's the difference between reactive consciousness and creative consciousness. Reactive consciousness is basing your actions on what's going on around you. So people at home are arguing, therefore I'm going to feel down. People at work are stressed, therefore I'm going to be tense. So you adjust yourself according to the situation. Now, I'm not saying don't be sensitive. There's a really fine line here. Obviously, if people are stressed or angry, you're not just going to walk in and be chirpy. It's about maintaining your inner state. It's not so much outside, it's more inside, which people won't see, but they'll feel. So what you want to do is you want to maintain your state regardless of what's going on around you. And that is proactive or creative consciousness. So it's you being resourceful. I remember once when my niece was very little, she's grown up now, but we were all sort of arguing at home and there was a bit of tension. And she was so sweet and she was like, "Never mind, let's put a film on." And it was just the sweetest thing. And it was just, it completely changed the mood of the room. Like everyone was so uptight and, bickering. And she just so innocently said, "Oh, well, let's put a film on." And she put something like Disney or something. And it did, it cheered us up. She changed our state. So in that moment, she was in her creative consciousness because she was like, how can I create a new outcome here? And that is only possible when you're in your higher self. So your higher self is not just about being positive all the time or just being happy. It's about being resourceful and creative. It's okay, this is a situation. What can I do? And that's not being a rescuer either. A rescuer tries to save the day. But someone who is in creative consciousness, higher self, says, okay, how can I maintain my state regardless? So an example of that is today, for example, I don't have that many people who registered for this webinar. So I had two choices, continue, which I'm doing, or cancel. I was faced with two choices, or postpone. That would have been another choice. But I didn't want to be reactive. I didn't want to base it on the reality. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I chose to do it at 11 o'clock. Therefore, if people can't make it, fine. If they can, fine. If they watch the replay, fine. I'm not in control of the outcome. What am I in control of? Right now. So that's what I want you to take away from today. You are in control of your present moment. And when I say present moment, present state, you might not be in control of the things and the people and like you might, for example, somebody, they broke down on the motorway and it was a Sunday morning, funnily enough. And she was waiting for the AA to come. I don't know which motorway or anything. I don't even know who the person was. And she went on to YouTube and my Sunday morning meditation came up. And she had headphones and she's sitting on the side of a motorway and she listened to my Sunday morning meditation. And then she wrote on YouTube on my meditation, "Thank you so much. I feel so calm and in control." And she said, that meditation shifted me. And I suddenly sat there and I'm just enjoying the breeze. I'm watching the cars go by on the motorway. And that fear and panic and restlessness completely went. And I was just at ease waiting for AA to come. And she wrote all that on my YouTube. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I never knew that something that I could create could have that much impact on someone. And so now I've learned that you've just got to do you. Once you do you, everything else will fall into place. Does that resonate? Let me know on the chat box what's coming up for you as we're sharing this. I drink a lot of water, by the way. You'll constantly see me sipping. My husband gets really embarrassed when we go to restaurants because I'm always asking for more water. I drink a lot. And there's a lot of energy moving. Can you feel it? There's so much energy shifting. Often people say they hear their like tummy gargling or they even start burping and things like that in these sessions. And that's because it's energy moving. So let me know what's landing for you. So I mentioned that you might be somebody that has followed the norm. You might be someone that's done what you were told to do, that you do what's expected of you. You help out around the house, you make tea, you do things when guests comes. And I'm not saying that any of that's mundane or not required or not helpful, but you might now be at a stage where you're thinking about what really lights you up from within. Where are you in all of this? Aman says she's learning to put herself first. Love that. She's operating from her higher self and she's able to give from a better place. Exactly. And that is key. I'm really glad you said that because often when we talk about this, people think, oh, so am I supposed to become selfish? Am I supposed to neglect others? No, actually, on the contrary, you are more in service of others. You can help people more because you're in overflow. You've heard this saying before that when your cup is empty, you can't give from that place. You're barely in survival mode when your cup is empty. And therefore, how can you give to others? If someone asks you for something, you'll be like, whoa, oh my gosh, I can't, I just can't. I'm just already up to here. I cannot take on another thing. And that's not a time management issue. That's a capacity issue. Because when you don't refill your cup enough, you run on empty. It's literally like a petrol cap. If you don't fill it up, you just won't be able to drive the car. It's as simple as that. If you don't charge your phone battery, you will not be able to, make calls and download images and stuff. So it's the same thing. You've got to recharge. And how? How do you recharge? Well, everybody's different. Last time we talked about the archetypes, and an example is merchant archetype. They are people, they get a lot of energy being with other people. They love being with other people. If they're tired, a merchant would rather go to a party than stay in. Whereas if I'm tired, I would never go to a party or even a dinner or a gathering. I would just cancel because I don't get my energy from people. I feel drained by people, to be honest. So unless my cup is full, I will not go near people. I'm very particular. I don't even go to supermarkets and shopping centres because the energy is so dense and I'm so sensitive. So unless my cup is really full, like in overflow, then I can go anywhere. And then I come home and I do a lot of clearing. That's not to say that anyone is better or worse, or this is not about hierarchy, by the way. It's about how you get fueled. So Rosina says she's a merchant and she gets her energy from people. Exactly. But a labourer gets their energy from service, from doing things for people. But again, not in, at their own detriment, within reason, within control. An educator, which I am, I get my energy from service, from teaching. So now, after the webinar, I'm going to be like buzzing for the rest of the day because I love sharing and teaching. If somebody even takes away one thing from what I've said, I'm just like so elated, so happy. And that's coming from my higher self. It's not coming from a need to prove or be validated or anything. And a warrior, they get their energy from being in service of supporting a cause. So if they contribute to something meaningful, like a charity or something, they will feel really buzzing from that. So, and an outsider, they'll feel like they've got energy when they've done something that's very unique. Remember, I said last time, the outsider's trait is that their uniqueness. So when they create something that's original, that's when they'll be buzzing. So when we're not doing any of those things, that's when we're depleted. So the outsider's depleted when they're not being creative. The labourer is depleted when they're overworking or when they're out of a job and not working at all. The merchant will feel depleted when they go for weeks without a social gathering. The educator will feel depleted when they go days without teaching, sharing. The warrior will feel depleted when they don't support a cause or when they're fighting. They're not actually doing something that's meaningful to them. So this is about us operating from our unique gifts, what lights us up. And when we do what lights us up, that's what gives us energy. So we don't need to sit and meditate every day for half an hour. You can if you want, that's helpful, but you don't have to. What you need to do is you need to find what lights you up. If it's people, find a job where you can be paid to work with people. It might be networking, it might be negotiation, it might be sales. So find what really truly lights you up and imagine being paid for what lights you up. Often I do retreats. As you know, I have a retreat coming up next year in January. And I do retreats in these beautiful hotels and they've got spa facilities and sometimes I'm there and I'm like, am I really being paid for this? Like this is too good to be true. I get paid to speak on events, I get paid to write, I get paid for just doing my unique gifts. Like it's just so easy to me. It doesn't mean it's easy to do, it's still effort and hard work, but it's just comes so naturally. I think that's a better word, natural. So imagine if you could just show up every day in your natural, most authentic self and be paid. Wouldn't that be amazing? Can you imagine that? And that is what we call ikigai. So Ikigai is a little bit different to Dharma. Dharma is your intrinsic state of being, and Ikigai is your extrinsic expression of that being. So Dharma is internal, it's your internal state, how you are, regardless of the situation around you, you stay the same. And your Ikigai is your expression of that. So let's say a part of your state is to be calm. You're the one that's calm in a crisis. Your that's your dharma, let's say, part of your dharma. And then your ikigai would be you being in a job where you're being paid to be calm. Do you see? That's the difference between dharma and ikigai. Dharma is who you are internally, and ikigai is your expression. And the expression can change throughout your life. You can change jobs. You can change what you do, but your state never changes. And that's why Dharma is your soul's blueprint. Your soul came onto earth with this blueprint. It's not a personality type. It's not who you are in this decade and in the next decade you'll be someone else. That's reactive. Your Dharma is internal. Does that make sense? But in order to step into our Dharma, we need to overcome our karma. Our karma is our patterns. That's why this is called patterns to purpose. And over the past few years, one of my challenges has been really being able to articulate this work. I'd like to think I'm a very articulate person, but it's been a challenge for me over the past 5 years. So I first started getting these downloads 5 years ago. And this work, the framework that you see today, all came from my higher self. It didn't come from textbooks. I didn't go on a course and study this. I just got download after download after that. And I was having to frantically write everything I was getting. And then I was stuck with all these pieces of paper and not being able to make head or tail of them. And so then when I tried to translate it, it was a challenge. It was a process, let's say. And now I feel like I'm really close. I'm really starting to be able to articulate, and I'm getting feedback as well from you saying that you're really understanding, you're really resonating with the message. But karma to dharma, I had to translate into English because people were like, whoa, what's that? I don't know what she's talking about. Like, is that Hindu? Is that Buddhist? What? I don't get it. So then I created this term patterns to purpose. Of course, it doesn't do it justice because the Sanskrit words are so old, there's so much wisdom, so much depth. And so karma doesn't literally mean patterns, but in order for us to understand it better, we can think about it as karmic patterns and dharma as our embodied purpose. And again, purpose is not a job, it's a state. Does that make sense? So that's why I've been sharing this knowledge through these webinars, because I really want you to understand the philosophy behind this, behind where it's going. And so me crossing my bridge, I often use the analogy of a bridge. There was so much emotion, there was so much of an identity, dismantling that took place. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping others to cross their bridge, because I truly believe that if you don't have the guidance, you'll just end up circling for years and years and years. And the biggest regret people have when they get to the end of their life is that they didn't fulfill their dreams. There's actually a book on it. A nurse wrote a book. I think it's called The Top. regrets of the dying or something like that. I'll look it up. But she actually sat with people who were at the end of their lives and she wrote a book about it. And she said the biggest things that they said they regret was not spending enough time with loved ones, which is understandable. You can imagine that. And then the other one was not having fulfilled their dreams. And that's why it's so important for me to do this work, because I want to help people to fulfill their dreams. And your dream might be to get married, to have a stable, loving relationship, to build a home. It might be to write a book. It might be to, do something like what I'm doing, to speak, to share knowledge, to help people. It doesn't matter what it is. Your purpose doesn't have to be momentous. You don't need to be Elon Musk or, you know, um, Donald Trump. You don't need to be anybody like a leader of a country to have a purpose. You could be a granddad taking your grandchildren to school, and that could be part of your purpose. Everyone has a purpose. Do you agree? Everyone. It's about finding it from within. And it's your state, the state in which you do it. So that example that I just gave, a granddad taking their grandchildren to school, if they were to do that from karma, it would be like, oh, come on, dragging the kids along. And if they're in their state of dharma, then they would be their most authentic self. They would enjoy, they'd make jokes with the children, they'd laugh, they'd skip, they'd hop. And so it's a completely different outer expression. It's the same thing, but it's got a different way of showing itself. And so that's why when we operate from Dharma, we're operating from truth. Karma is from obligation. Oh, I've got to take the children to school. I've got to drop them off. I've got to do this. Expectation, attachment. So all those patterns is karma. And what's Dharma then? It's just truth. It's you being true to yourself. It's you being honest. Do you know what? This job is just not me anymore. And as soon as you're honest, the universe, in my experience, steps in. People often say to me, well, I know the job is not right for me, but what am I supposed to do? I have to stay in it because I need to pay the bills, which is a fair point. But in my experience, and seeing other clients as well that I've worked with, as soon as you make that choice, the universe steps in. So you need to decide in your mind, 100%, actually, do you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready for something new. You don't need to even do anything yet. You don't need to look for new jobs or go on Rightmove yet. You just need to start with a decision from your higher self. The decision is actually, do you know what? I'm not aligned living here anymore. I'm ready to move, or I'm not aligned working here. So the decision is the first step. Then the action is the second step. And then what I've seen happen is the universe makes the rest happen. It doesn't mean it's magic or you don't have to continue taking action, but you get supported. You get a lot of support. An example of this is, as I said, I've got my book coming out soon, and I really had this beautiful vision of me having a wonderful book launch in a really nice, intimate place. I want a hotel that's nice, but I didn't want somewhere busy with lots of conference rooms. That's not the vibe I'm going for. And I just imagined somewhere really nice. I could see fresh flowers, glasses of Prosecco and juice, and just this really elegant feel. And I literally went online. I typed in venues near me into Google. The first venue that came up, I looked at the pictures and I couldn't believe it. It was so similar to what I'd imagined, and it was so close by to me. And I emailed them, and it was a Sunday, and I didn't think that anybody would be working. Immediately, the guy rings me and I'm like, wow, you're working on a Sunday? He said, yes. And then I inquired about the venue and I thought, oh, it's going to be so expensive. I'm not going to be able to afford it. It's going to be too much. He gave me a really good deal, and now I'm going to be doing my book launch there. So it's so exciting, and all that happened so organically. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is because I want you to know and be reassured that once you make up your mind, once you visualize what you want, I promise you the universe will help you and you'll be supported. And, I know some of you believe and you connect with angels and guides and spirits and things like that. I don't personally, but I know that they can also be very helpful. So you're not alone. You're not alone. You are being held and guided by so many entities and by the source, the universe, and by the earth, Gaia. We're so lucky. But when we're in our human form, we forget that, don't we? It's called spiritual amnesia. We forget who we are. And so remember at the beginning, I said, this is about remembering. It's not about discovering or finding or searching. It's about remembering. And maybe this resonates with you because you're remembering. Because on some level, your soul's like, yeah, that makes sense, actually. Yeah, good. So do you have any questions now as we start to wind down? As I said, there was no slides today, no presentation, just free flow. How did you find this experience? Please share, and then we'll do a meditation to wrap up. You may have heard the saying that you are the sum total of the 5 people that you hang around with, the closest people that you have, your 5 people. So these check-ins, these sessions, they are your opportunity to make us one of your 5. It's so important to be surrounded by people that uplift you. The more you immerse yourself into this kind of energy, the more it becomes a part of you. It's not like, oh, I'm just attending a webinar and then I go back to my normal life. It becomes a part of who you are. So Rosina says, I feel calm and hopeful, and I'm starting the day with a good mindset. Fulfilling. Good. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to do a meditation now. So if you'd like to make yourself comfortable. And this is just going to help you to absorb everything we've gone through today. Allow it all to land. And just breathe. And even if you're somewhere where you can't close your eyes, that's okay. You can still do this. Just about taking your attention inwardly. And so allow everything we've discussed to just sink in without judgment, trying not to analyze too much, but instead just allowing it to become a part of your knowing. And with each breath, there's a sense of lightness. There's a sense of remembering who you are and why you are here. And then bring your hands over your heart center, honoring yourself, how far you've come, for showing up, for doing this inner work, and for choosing to be different, making choices from your higher self. trusting that you are on the right path. Everything you've been through has brought you here, and now you're ready. You're so ready for your next chapter. So it is. And then rubbing your palms together and massaging your eyes, your temples, your forehead. Take your time to blink your eyes open. Thank you. Namaste.